Chapter 583. While the storm was brewing in the lower three heavens, an earth-shattering event had also happened in the lower three heavens. The Iron Cloud Empire had finally unified the world and dominated the lower three heavens. Even the grassland wolves of the northern frontier had surrendered. The lower three heavens had become the territory of the Iron Cloud Empire. Tai-Butian had finally ruled the world. All the land under the heavens belonged to the emperor. All the people on the land were the emperor's subject. While the whole nation was celebrating, the emperor had only sent Tai Longcheng as a representative to celebrate with the world. And he himself had not come out from the palace. The empress Wu Qianqian was about to give birth. The emperor could not leave. After this news was spread, the whole nation rejoiced. Not only did no one say anything, but everyone had always thought that the emperor was loyal and righteous, and was a rare good man in the world. For Iron Cloud Empire to have such a monarch was the fortune of the world and the fortune of all its citizens. Some people also noticed that although the prince of the Iron Dragon realm was celebrating with the officials, his eyes often looked in the direction of the palace involuntarily. There was a trace of anxiety and uneasiness in his eyes. It seemed that he could not wait to leave this place and return to the palace. In the palace, Lan Maixian was anxiously guarding outside the delivery room. She kept pacing back and forth, her face full of anxiety and heartache. Moaning sounds came from the delivery room, as if it was forcibly suppressing. On one side, sat a handsome couple. The man was gentle and elegant, while the woman was graceful and luxurious. They looked like a couple of immortals. Lan Maixian kept sighing and pacing back and forth. Finally, she said, "Ruolan, are the midwives you brought from the upper three heavens useful?" "Failing, I don't want to criticize you, but what good midwives do you have in the Chu clan? Didn't I tell you to go to the Lan clan to find Granny Kui? You didn't listen. Now your Chu clan has sent 5 midwives, but why haven't they come out after half a day? What are these midwives doing?" This couple was young Ruolan and Chu Feiling. It turned out that Lan Maixian was still worried about the midwives in the palace. She was also worried that the secret would be leaked. Lan Maixian immediately sent a message to young Ruolan. Then, young Ruolan and Chu Feiling personally brought the midwives down. Young Ruolan smiled and said, "Master, you don't have to worry. The people I've brought along are all experienced and powerful. Besides, I've already checked. Junior sister's fetus is in the right position. So, there won't be any accidents." She found it a little funny. The midwife of the Lan family was of course good, but if her master didn't go, how could she and her husband invite her? That was the Lan family. But, why is it taking so long? Lan Maixian was extremely anxious. "Master, there's something you don't know." Young Ruolan found it hard to say. "It's not that easy for a woman to give birth to a child. When I gave birth to my child, I also spent a full day and night in extreme pain." Speaking up to here, he couldn't help but feel dejected. Thinking about her missing child, she was overcome with grief and her eyes turned red. Chu Feiling hurriedly comforted him. Chu Feiling was a little restless. He wouldn't have come this time if he wasn't worried that his beloved wife would have an accident when she went out alone. How could his wife's junior sister give birth to a child while he, the senior brother-in-law, sits outside and waits? "That damned king of Hell Chu," Lan Maixian said angrily. "He stirred up trouble and left just like that. That bastard. How much grievance and pain has Tian Tian suffered because of him? Now, his child is about to be born at such an important time. But, he's nowhere to be seen." She heavily stomped her foot. "This is really infuriating." Young Ruolan smiled bitterly and thought, "That person doesn't know anything. How can he appear here?" The moaning sound inside suddenly became louder. Then, the voice of the midwife was heard, "Endure it. Don't exert yourself now. You have to accumulate your strength. Otherwise, you won't have any strength when the child is born. That won't be good for the child, won't be good for the child." This sentence seemed to have infinite power. Tai Bu Tian's voice immediately became softer. She could only be heard taking deep breaths to accumulate her strength. "My poor disciple." Lan Maixian sat down on a chair and covered her face with her hands. She couldn't help but shed tears. "I don't know what your senior owes that man. She's sacrificing so much for him. She sat for a while. Then, she stood up again. She sat down again, and stood up again. Finally, she walked to the front of the portrait of the Empress, and knelt down piously. Mother, I, Lan Maixian, have never believed in ghosts or gods. But, I believe in you now. I'm willing to worship the Empress for a lifetime as long as you can help Tian Tian give birth to a child. May I be struck by lightning if I violate this oath. Young Ruolan's eyes were somewhat moist. Her master, Lan Maixian, had always been strong and stubborn. She had never married. She had always been proud and aloof. She had never respected the heavens or feared ghosts or gods. But, she was now praying so piously for her disciple. It could be seen that her heart was in chaos. On the other side, Wu Qianqian had already knelt in front of the portrait of the Empress. She didn't know how long she had been kneeling for. But, she was praying in her heart, you must, give birth to a healthy child. Mother will be safe. The moaning sound inside the room suddenly became louder again. It seemed as if it couldn't suppress the pain. Lan Maixian banged her head on the ground. She was in extreme pain and heartache. She suddenly turned her head, and said, Ruolan, NP. Can't she use her vital energy to give birth to a child? It's so painful. Tian Tian. How can she bear it? Young Ruolan revealed an embarrassed look on her face and said, Master, you don't know. Even a supreme expert has to pass through this hurdle when giving birth to a child. This has nothing to do with vital energy. She'll be no different from an ordinary woman at this moment, no matter how great her cultivation is. Sigh, Lan Maixian turned her head in disappointment. She kowtowed on the ground, and prayed piously. Bear with it a little longer. Bear with it a little longer. It'll be done soon. It'll be done soon. The midwife's gentle voice was comforting her. Her voice seemed to have the power to calm people's hearts. Tai Biu Tian was moaning in pain in the inner room. Her complexion was deathly pale. Then, it turned red after a while. Her hands were tightly grasping the edge of the bed. Blood was seeping out from her fingernails. Don't worry. It'll be fine. It's just that this is your first time giving birth to a child. The child is very healthy. It's up to you now. You must hold on. The midwife kept comforting her. Tai Biu Tian nodded weakly. Her eyes emitted a resolute look. She said in a low voice, My child will be born safely. Finally. The outside couldn't bear it any longer. Good. Harder. Harder. Yes. It's coming out. It's coming out. The child is coming out. Wah, NP tilde a loud and clear cry of a baby was heard. It seemed as if a wisp of golden sunlight had pierced through the dark clouds in the sky. Tai Biu Tian finally relaxed after hearing this heavenly cry. She exposed a happy and relieved smile at the corners of her mouth. Then, she fainted from exhaustion. My child with him, has been born. Everyone's body shook as this cry spread. They exposed an ecstatic look on their faces. How's the child? How's the Lord? Lan Maixian hastily asked in a loud voice. Very good. Both are very good. One is fat and one is small. Mother is safe. Even experts like Lan Maixian, Chu Fei Ling, and young Ruolan felt a sense of exhaustion when these 4 words mother is safe were heard. It seemed as if all the strength in their bodies had been consumed in this silent cry. But, their hearts had finally settled down. God bless. Lan Maixian knelt down in front of the Empress portrait in ecstasy. She kowtowed as if she was pounding garlic. Thank you, Empress. Thank you for being so good. From now on, Lan Maixian will worship you day and night. I will burn incense all year round. Thank you, Empress, for making my sweet mother safe. Chu Fei Ling and young Ruolan looked at each other. They both saw that the rims of each other's eyes were red. Lan Maixian calmed down after a long time. She stood up, picked up the teacup, and drank a mouthful of tea. She wiped her tears, and said with an embarrassed smile, You 2 little girls. You've angered me to death. But, you've also worried me to death. I'd rather bleed than cry. I've only cried twice in my life. And, it's all because of you 2 disappointing little girls. She wiped her tears again. Then, she said in a somewhat angry tone, The first time was when you gave birth. I stayed on the roof of your Chu clan for a night. And I shed tears for you the whole night. The second time was because of this infuriating little girl. You ruined my child, and didn't even let me know about it. You only knew how to bear it by yourself. Alas, master. Yang Ruolan's face was streaked with tears. Wu Qianqian had been dumbstruck when she had heard the cry of the baby. Then, she seemed to have woken up from a dream. She frantically kowtowed to the statue a few times. Then, she jumped up and ran towards the delivery room. Don't go in, Yang Ruolan quickly grabbed her. You can't go in now. Why? You can't go in because you can't go in, Lan Maixian reprimanded her with a smile. The baby will be carried out in a while. Why are you in such a hurry? How can you casually barge into this delivery room? You're such an ignorant little girl. Ah! Wu Qianqian's face turned red. She was somewhat embarrassed. The sound of water splashing could be heard inside. It seemed as if someone was bathing the baby. A gentle sound of footsteps was heard after a while. Then, a benevolent-looking midwife came out with a small swaddle in her arms. She smiled as she walked. It's very strange. I've delivered so many babies. Most of them have their eyes closed when they're born. But this little guy is different. His two black eyes are wide open, and they're rolling around. I don't know what he can see, another midwife behind her said with a smile. He's so young. He won't be able to see anything even if his eyes are open. He'll need at least a day to open his 7 orifices. Then, he'll be able to see something. That's why it's so strange. Really? Everyone scrambled to surround the baby. They cautiously moved closer to take a look. They saw a dense crowd of heads above the swaddle. Chapter 584. So pretty. Lan Maixian said. Wu Qianqian pursed her lips. Why is this baby a little wrinkled all over? He looks like an old man. To think that Master Lan could actually say the word pretty. Wu Qianqian didn't know that newborns were all like this. The baby in front of her was already very smooth. At this moment, she suddenly heard Yang Ruolan moaning softly. Her body was on the verge of collapsing. Lan Maixian was quick to react. She supported her and said, Ruolan, what's wrong? Yang Ruolan opened her eyes. She was a little confused. Then, she looked at the baby and said dejectedly, I'm fine. Chu Filing also noticed the abnormality. He rushed forward to support his wife. He asked repeatedly, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Yang Ruolan looked at the baby in swaddling clothes. After a long time, she weakly repeated, I'm fine. However, a feeling of perilous waves suddenly rose in her heart. When she saw Tai Butian, although they were very close, she clearly knew that she was her junior sister. But when she saw this little baby, a feeling of blood connection suddenly rose in Yang Ruolan's heart. It was as if this little baby in front of her was the closest person to her. This feeling was very mysterious. Moreover, Yang Ruolan had a vague feeling. Why does this baby look so similar to my baby when he was just born? Then, she smiled bitterly and shook her head. All newborns in the world are very similar. When they just come out of the mother's womb, they are all wrinkled all over. How can you tell whose face they look like at this time? It's simply impossible. At least a few days later, the baby's skin will slowly relax and become round and smooth. Only then can you see the rough outline of the baby. Looks like I've really gone crazy from missing my son. After looking for a while and reporting the good news, the midwives hurriedly carried the baby in again. Because Tai Butian had already woken up and was anxiously waiting for the baby. When the midwives carried the baby in, Tai Butian actually sat up with strength that she didn't know where she got it from. The few midwives were so frightened that they shouted, Don't. Quickly lie down. My great-grandmother. How can you sit up now? Finally, she held the child in her arms. Tai Butian looked at the tender face in her arms and couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction as if she owned the whole world. A feeling of extreme happiness spread uncontrollably from the bottom of his heart. This kind of happiness and satisfaction far surpassed the sense of accomplishment of unifying the world. It was as if the entire world was not as important as this little person in his arms. Chu Yang, do you know? Our child was born. It's a boy. Looking at the baby's tender little face, Tai Butian couldn't help but lean forward and kiss him gently. Her heart was full of tenderness. I will take good care of him. I will educate him well so that when he grows up, he will be even more outstanding than you. She paused and suddenly changed her tone. No, I don't want him to be more outstanding than you. I just want him to live a peaceful and happy life without any disasters, even if he's not that outstanding. Young Ruolan foolishly looked in the direction of the inner chamber as she watched the midwife carry the baby inside. She was absent-minded, and felt as if her heart had become empty. What's wrong? Chu Fei Ling sensitively felt his wife's abnormality and asked with concern. Everyone had gathered around to take a look just now. Chu Fei Ling didn't have the nerve to go closer. He only glanced from afar and didn't see clearly. Nothing. Young Ruolan weakly snuggled in her husband's arms. She thought of the strange feeling just now. She opened her mouth, but didn't say anything in the end. I'll stay here for a while. I'll take a good look at the baby when he's a month old and has grown up. Junior sister's baby is so cute. Young Ruolan whispered enviously. Chu Fei Ling's heart ached. He knew that his wife was thinking of his son. He couldn't help but sigh. Lan Maixian kept asking, is it okay? Can I go in? Can you let me go in first? After a long while, the inside was tidied up. The midwife finally came out and reported, you can go in. But be careful. Walk lightly and don't make any sound. Lan Maixian was already impatient. She slowly floated in like a ghost. Not to mention the sound of the wind, she didn't even make any dust. Chu Fei Ling rubbed his forehead. He was speechless. Is it necessary? Just to not make any sound, she mobilized all her martial power to launch the Great Feather Mental Cultivation method. Young Ruolan weakly took 2 steps back. Her eyes were fixed on the inner chamber. She didn't even blink. Her soul had flown out of her body. It was unknown what she was thinking about. She unconsciously took 2 steps back, and sat down. If it weren't for Chu Fei Ling's sharp eyes and quick hands, she would have sat directly on the ground. In the inner chamber, Lan Maixian nervously rubbed her hands. Tian Tian, does it still hurt? It doesn't hurt anymore. Tai Bu Tian gently shook her head. The baby in her arms restlessly stretched out his hands and kicked his legs. His small black eyes rolled around. He seemed to be very intelligent. Tai Bu Tian couldn't help but smile warmly. She said, Master, look at him. He's so naughty. Lan Maixian also smiled. She slowly sat on the edge of the bed, and looked at the child. Then, she sighed and said, this little bastard is hurting my good disciple to death. Wait until he grows up. This old woman will ruthlessly spank his ass. You're not allowed. Tai Bu Tian glared. Lan Maixian smiled. Look at how nervous you are. Look, you're so protective of him and spoiling him. I think you're the emperor. You're spoiling him too much. Since ancient times, a loving mother has spoiled her son. Tai Bu Tian rolled her eyes. She said somewhat willfully, so what? I have plenty of family properties to spoil him. Lan Maixian was speechless. She grabbed the little guy's hand and said with a smile, let me see how this little guy's physique is first. Your senior sister's baby only has an above-average physique. Let me see what kind of child your exquisite ice heart can give birth to. Tai Bu Tian pursed her lips and smiled. She said, I'll take whatever physique he has. I'm a little worried now. If his physique is good, I'm afraid I'll have to roll around in Jianghu in the future. Alas, how dangerous would that be? Lan Maixian rolled her eyes and said, don't you want your son to become a matchless powerhouse? Tai Bu Tian slowly shook her head. I only want him to be safe. Everything is enough. You're really useless. Lan Maixian scolded with a smile. Then, she carefully poured her vitality into the baby's body. Suddenly, her complexion changed. Her face turned red as she muttered, there's something wrong with his meridians. Ah? Tai Bu Tian was startled. She immediately became anxious. Master, what's wrong? Is it serious? How can his meridians be so wide? Lan Maixian sucked in a breath of cold air. I've seen many children. How can this one be so monstrous? Then, her complexion changed again. And, it turned deathly white. Strange. Lan Maixian frowned. She had a pensive look on her face. It's somewhat similar to the legendary Iron Blood Loyal Heart physique. But it seems to be higher. I'm not sure. I've never seen such a physique. Then, is it good or bad? Tai Bu Tian asked nervously. Of course it's good. It's so good that it can't be better. Lan Maixian raised her head in a daze. She sized up the iron-cloud imperial palace all around. Then, she muttered, could it be that the inside of this imperial palace is a place with good feng shui? How can so many monstrous physiques appear here? This child's physique. I can't understand it. Lan Maixian solemnly said, but it's no small matter. You mustn't spread this news. Otherwise. Tai Bu Tian nodded, I know, master. She beamed with joy as she looked at this little person. Then, she lovingly said, I didn't expect this little guy to be so extraordinary. He's worthy of being his father's son. Lan Maixian's complexion darkened. She snorted in an unfriendly manner. Then, she softly said, are you still in pain? I'm not in pain anymore. Tai Bu Tian strangely looked at her master. Take that medicinal pill that is hanging in front of your chest, Lan Maixian urged. Pill? Tai Bu Tian was surprised. What pill? That pill that's hanging on your neck. Lan Maixian was somewhat anxious. Hurry up. A woman giving birth to a child is like passing through the gates of hell. She has experienced life and death. It's a good opportunity for you to change your physique. Take that pill now. Hurry up. It'll be too late by the time your body recovers. Change my physique. Tai Bu Tian touched the purple crystal bottle on her chest. She was somewhat reluctant to part with it. Yes. Hurry up. Lan Maixian anxiously said, you used to have the icy heart physique. But, the icy heart physique disappeared without a trace after you lost your virginity. But, it's a good opportunity for you to rebuild your body after giving birth. Moreover, you have a miraculous medicine in your hand. You may become the first person in history to have the icy heart physique and jade bones physique once you take it. Hurry up. But, what about the child? Tai Bu Tian was somewhat unwilling. Ruolan, you take care of the child first, Lan Maixian called out. Young Ruolan immediately rushed in as if she had heard the heavenly voice. She had been waiting for such a call for too long. Under Lan Maixian's urging, Tai Bu Tian finally took out the heavy pill. But, she still didn't take it immediately. She said, Master, are you sure that this pill alone can? This is a heavy pill. Silly child. Lan Maixian saw that she was still hesitating. She became anxious. This is a rare heavy pill. If this pill can't change your physique, then, no one else in the world can change your physique. I don't know what kind of luck you have. You've actually met the divine dragon-like master of Tribulation Sword. You're really lucky. The divine dragon-like master of Tribulation Sword? Tai Bu Tian exclaimed. Suddenly, huge waves rolled in her heart. Her mind was in a mess. She couldn't extricate herself. She had mixed feelings for a moment. Chu Yang is actually the master of Tribulation Sword? No wonder. Tai Bu Tian muttered. No wonder Chu Yang is so powerful. No wonder Chu Yang has advanced so quickly. No wonder he can turn the situation around. No wonder he can defeat Diwu Qingru. But, she was startled for a moment. Then, she suddenly grabbed Lan Maixian's hand. Master, this matter can't be spread out. She was a talented emperor of a generation. How could she not know the importance of this matter? She immediately sensed the danger Chu Yang was in after she realized it. Chapter 585. Lan Maixian smiled and said, Don't worry. I know the severity of the matter. I won't spread it. No one is allowed to. Tai Butian said resolutely and solemnly, As long as you agree, I will take it immediately. But if Master were to say it out loud, even if you were to say it to another person, this disciple would have no choice but to die immediately. Lan Maixian took 2 steps and said, As long as you promise me that you will cultivate the icy heart jade bone to the peak. I will promise you. Good. Tai Butian opened the purple crystal bottle without hesitation. She took out the elixir and stuffed it into her mouth without even looking at it. Her eyes were shining. Master, Don't forget your promise. This child. How can I go back on my word? Lan Maixian didn't realize that her disciple had put a curse on her. She immediately helped Tai Butian up. She placed one hand on her back and the other hand on her head. She said, eliminate all distracting thoughts and circulate your energy to digest the elixir. Don't think about anything else. Tai Butian was just about to speak when she felt a wave of heat rising from her dantian. In an instant, the pain all over her body actually disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Then, an extremely comfortable feeling spread through her limbs and bones at the same time. At the same time, a surge of spiritual energy surged into her back and entered her dantian. Then, it spiraled up with that spiritual energy. A spiritual energy shrouded her from the top of her head. When the three forces came into contact, they suddenly scattered into thousands of spiritual energy flows. Tai Butian immediately felt that her whole body seemed to be changing slightly. Then, all the changes gathered together and turned the world upside down. After a long time, Lan Maixian fell back with a thud and fainted. She had used up all her energy to help Tai Butian change her physique this time. If she didn't cultivate for a month or so, she wouldn't be able to recover. Tai Butian was sweating all over. Her body was oily and she didn't know what had seeped out. But, she felt that her body had completely recovered. Her whole body felt light as if it was about to fly. Moreover, there seemed to be many more profound insights in her mind. She propped herself up and found that she was fine. It just so happened that there was a shortage of hot water in preparation for the birth. She immediately ordered the hot water to be transported in. She washed her body properly and stood up. She immediately felt that she was very different. Lan Maixian woke up. Her body was weak but her spirit was extremely excited. She grabbed Tai Butian's hand and checked it. She laughed happily and said, "Good, good. I, Lan Maixian, finally have a successor to my mantle." 100 meridians opened, dantian blue sea, exquisite ice heart, crystal clear jade bones, all in one. Her eyes were burning. Tian Tian, you must cultivate diligently. The current you has basically swept away all the obstacles in your cultivation. You're standing at the peak of frozen heart jade bone. You must not disappoint this gift from the heavens. She paused for a moment and said, only when you become strong, will you be able to better protect your child. You may be the emperor of the lower three heavens, but you need to know that the upper three heavens will not take care of your son just because you are the emperor. Tai Butian's heart shuddered as he replied, I understand. Lan Maixian smiled in a gratified manner and said, I will take Qian Qian back to the upper three heavens when the child is 1 month old. You take good care of the child, and cultivate well. You must also go up when the time is right. The upper three heavens is where geniuses like you should stay. Tai Butian was non-committal, her gaze somewhat perplexed. After a long while, Tai Butian said slowly, let Qian Qian in. I want to have a chat with her. Lan Maixian nodded and walked out. Not long after, Wu Qianqian walked in gently. You're looking for me. Tai Butian looked at her with a complicated gaze. After a long while, he said, have you decided? Wu Qianqian lowered her head and said softly, yes. Tai Butian heaved a long sigh of relief and said, good. Tomorrow, I will issue an imperial edict. Empress Wu Qianqian has died in childbirth. The whole nation will mourn. Wu Qianqian was silent for a long time. Then, she said softly, I'm worried. She sighed and said, I'm worried about both. Tai Butian smiled and said, worried? Ha ha. Qianqian, if you see him, don't tell him about this. Her expression became serious at the end of her words. Wu Qianqian bit her lips until they turned pale. After a long while, she said, okay. Tai Butian smiled. Qianqian, what do you think about calling this child Tai Yang? Tai Yang. Yang as in the sun? Wouldn't that be the same name? Tai Yang, as in the sky drilling poplar, a steel-like sky drilling poplar. It has no branches and grows straight. It bathes in the sun and reaches the sky. Tai Butian said slowly and heavily, Tai Yang is the only successor of the Iron Cloud Empire. He will be the future overlord of the world. Her eyes flashed and shot out the brilliance of a sovereign. She said in a deep voice, I must conquer an iron country for my son. Long live Outside, young Ruolan was holding the child. She couldn't bear to let him go. She felt more and more warmth in her heart. That feeling of blood connection made her unable to let go of the child after she held him. "This is the first time I've seen you like someone else's child so much," Chu Feiling said with a smile. "Carry him and see," young Ruolan suddenly said. Chu Feiling took the child very carefully and hugged his warm and soft little body in his arms. The little child seemed to be grinning happily. Chu Feiling was almost conquered by this smile in an instant. A strange feeling suddenly shot into his heart like a bolt of lightning. Chu Feiling's whole body trembled. He couldn't help but murmur, "What a cute little guy. I feel like he's a member of my Chu clan." Young Ruolan's whole body trembled violently. Her phoenix-like eyes opened wide. She said in a trembling voice, You also have this feeling?" At this moment, Lan Meixian walked out. "Ruolan, I have to wait for a month before I can go back. You and Feiling can go back first if you have something to do." "It's okay. Master, we'll accompany you. We'll go back together after a month," young Ruolan said hurriedly. "All right." Lan Meixian nodded. "I'll take a rest first to recover my primary power. I've used up all my primary power today." She walked away after she said this. Young Ruolan's heart was surging with emotions. "I have this feeling, and my husband also has this feeling. What does this mean? Why do I have this feeling? Why?" She stood there in a daze. Tai Butian had already walked out. She took the child from Chu Feiling's arms and thanked them with a smile. "Thank you, senior sister and senior sister's husband. I've really troubled you this time. Why did you walk out now?" Young Ruolan asked anxiously. "It's fine." Tai Butian chuckled. "If senior sister and brother-in-law have nothing to do, why don't you stay here for a few more days?" "Okay." Young Ruolan didn't wait for Chu Feiling to reply to this request. The next day, Iron Cloud Empire issued 2 imperial decrees at the same time, shocking the world. The Grand Elder of the Iron Cloud Empire was born. His Majesty the Emperor personally gave him the name Tai Yang. He was bestowed the position of Grand Elder, and was confirmed as the successor of the Iron Cloud Empire. Amnesty for the world, the entire nation rejoice. The Empress of the Iron Cloud Empire, Wu Qianqian, was born due to dystocia. She was posthumously conferred the title of loyal, filial, benevolent, righteous, and Xiaowu Empress, the only mother of the nation. The 7-son nation mourned, buried in the imperial mausoleum. The entire nation mourned. These 2 pieces of news, one happy and one sad, shocked the world. Half a month later, bad news came from the Iron Cloud Empire. The master of Bu Tian Pavilion, King of Hell Chu, had a relapse of his old injuries. He died the night before yesterday. He was posthumously conferred the title of First Prince with a different surname. The entire nation mourned. When the 3rd imperial decree was issued, no one knew that Tai Butian had held the imperial seal in her hand and sat in front of the imperial decree in a daze for a long time. When the imperial seal finally fell with a loud bang, 2 drops of tears flowed out of Tai Butian's eyes. Day after day passed. The child's skin had fully grown. His whole body was tender and tender. His white skin was tinged with rosy. He was extremely lovable. Young Ruolan came to see him several times a day. The more she looked, the more her heart palpitated. After the child's face had grown, the more young Ruolan looked at him, the more it overlapped with the image of her son in her memory. That was her only son. She would recall him several times a day over the past few years. In her dreams, her son seemed to be in her arms. How could that memory not be deep? On this day, young Ruolan's mind flashed. She remembered King of Hell Chu, whom she had taught a lesson 3 days ago. She vaguely felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what. Finally, that day, young Ruolan murmured, "I heard junior sister say that this is King of Hell Chu's child. But the last time I saw King of Hell Chu, his appearance was completely different from this child's." "Different?" Chu Feiling was reading a book. He answered indifferently. But young Ruolan suddenly stood up, startling the absent-minded Chu Feiling. He raised his head and saw his wife's eyes wide open. She murmured, "Different? Why not?" Although this child inherited some of his mother's features, his sharp eyebrows, nose, and masculine aura definitely came from his father. But, why not? Young Ruo Lan's whole body trembled. Why not? Why? Chu Feiling groaned and lay on the chair. He thought to himself, Ruo Lan is going crazy thinking about her son again. What does it have to do with us, whether or not they look alike? But young Ruo Lan had already stood up. I'll go find junior sister. Hey, it's late at night now. Chu Feiling hurriedly stopped her, but young Ruo Lan turned a deaf ear. She had already gone far away. Chu Feiling smiled bitterly. Looking at the bright and dark candlelight, he thought to himself, when I go back this time, I must put in more effort to search. Otherwise, looking at my wife like this really makes me feel uneasy. That night, Tai Butian fed her child milk and let him fall asleep. Hearing that young Ruo Lan had come, she hurriedly received her. Originally, the children of the royal family were basically nursed by wet nurses, but Tai Butian firmly refused and insisted on raising them herself. This decision had once been greatly approved by young Ruo Lan. Tian. Can I ask you something? Young Ruo Lan came and looked at the sleeping child. Her heart was thumping wildly and her lips were dry. She asked nervously. Chapter 586. What's the matter? Senior sister, feel free to speak your mind. Tai Butian was very grateful to her senior sister and said heartily. Can I ask, what does this child's father look like? Young Ruolan's voice was trembling. Tai Butian cast a gentle glance at her son, who was sound asleep. She pursed her lips and smiled. Senior sister, is there a need to ask? This child's appearance is almost exactly the same as his father's. Exactly the same? Young Ruolan's voice was trembling. She felt as if a thunderbolt had struck her heart. Did I find the wrong person last time? Her body trembled and swayed, giving Tai Butian a fright. Suddenly, a crazy thought popped up in her mind. Could it be, that person, is my son? And this little fellow that I feel so close to, is my grandson? She clearly knew that this was a bit whimsical, unrealistic, and too speculative, but she couldn't help thinking about it. She couldn't help but deduce, and yearn for it. Young Ruolan's face was flushed red for a moment, but it would turn pale in the next moment. Her heartbeat was like the beating of a drum. Even Tai Butian could hear it clearly. Senior sister, what's wrong? Tai Butian asked worriedly. Young Ruolan turned a deaf ear to her. Suddenly, she asked in a hoarse voice, his surname is Chu? Tai Butian nodded doubtfully. She thought to herself, although this is a secret, didn't you know it long ago? His name is Chu Yang? Young Ruolan asked. Yes, Tai Butian said. How old is he? She asked again. Should be 18, or 10. Tai Butian said uncertainly. How old is he? Young Ruolan's eyes widened. Yes, I heard that he is an abandoned child, and doesn't know his background. Tai Butian replied thoughtfully. Young Ruolan's throat issued an unknown moan. It seemed as if she had been struck by lightning. Her soft heart also seemed to have been pierced by a red-hot steel needle. She couldn't help but see stars. Her body swayed for a while before she finally managed to calm herself down. She realized that her face was already covered in tears. Abandoned child. Doesn't know his background. These two sentences made young Ruolan's entire body hurt. Her internal organs seemed to be churning, spasming, and hurting at this moment. She was in so much pain that her vision turned black and she almost lost consciousness. His soul seemed to be floating around in a daze. He only heard his own voice asking, "Is an abandoned child? Don't you know your background? Don't know my age?" Tai Butian's voice seemed to float over from the clouds. He was adopted by his master when he was young. The Empress, Wu Qianqian, is his senior sister. I'm not too sure about his past. Empress Wu Qianqian is his senior sister. Young Ruolan felt as if she had gone through a treacherous journey. Her entire body was sweating profusely. She didn't have any strength left. In fact, she had exhausted all her strength just to sit on the edge of the bed. He had been adopted by his master since he was young, abandoned child. He didn't know his background. This child looked exactly like his father, As if he had been plucked from his father's face, young Ruolan's soul floated in the air. Her eyes were lifeless. Only big drops of tears fell from her eyes. Tai Butian called her a few times, but she didn't hear her at all. Her soul had wandered off. His master. Young Ruolan finally thought of this question. This was undoubtedly an important clue. Young Ruolan was a little paranoid. Her intuition was wishful thinking. What's his master's sect? Beyond the Heavens sect? Who's his master? What's his name? I heard that his name is Meng Chao Ran. He's the youngest junior brother of the Beyond the Heavens sect. Young Ruolan asked faster and faster. Tai Butian answered fluently. Now, she also felt that something was wrong. She was a little scared and inexplicably flustered. She also had a vague intuition. This vague intuition made Tai Butian's face turn pale. Then, it turned red. She answered young Ruolan's questions cautiously. It can't be. It can't be. It can't be so coincidental. Chu Yang is an abandoned child. I heard that senior sister and brother-in-law also lost their child 18 years ago. They haven't found him yet. Tai Butian also panicked. A feeling of shame welled up in her heart. It can't be. It can't be so coincidental, can it? Oh my God, if this is really the strong and wise monarch of a country, the unparalleled overlord who controlled the life and death of billions of people, the first emperor of an empire, suddenly panicked. In the panic, their eyes met unintentionally. In young Ruolan's eyes, there was doubt, hope. In Tai Butian's eyes, there was surprise, shyness, fear, uncertainty, and a little bit of vague understanding, mixed with a thick sense of shame. You. Young Ruolan said in a daze. You. Tai Butian said in a daze. Both of them opened and closed their mouths at the same time. They were silent. They saw the complicated expressions on each other's faces. You first. You first. They spoke at the same time again. Then, they were silent at the same time. Cough cough, cough cough. I heard that you. It was as if the two women were under a spell. They stood in the same place, opened and closed their mouths at the same time. Then, they said the same thing and just sat there in a daze. I'll go first. Young Ruolan sighed. Your brother-in-law. Suddenly, she found the word brother-in-law extremely awkward. Tai Butian's white jade-like face flushed red at once. It was as if a fire had suddenly ignited. She lowered her head deeply. Her heart started to beat wildly. Please don't be so coincidental. If my mother-in-law caught me red-handed. Tai Butian felt that if that was really the case, there would be a crack in the ground that she could immediately hide in. She would be embarrassed to death. Young Ruolan cleared her throat and said, 18 years ago, my child was lost in the lower three heavens. He hasn't been found until now. Tian, look at my appearance. Do you see any, cough cough, resemblance to your? Young Ruolan coughed but looked at Tai Butian with eyes full of hope. Tai Butian moaned. Her whole body seemed to be on fire. She actually started to tremble. When she saw Chu Filing just now, she felt that this brother-in-law looked very familiar. It was as if she had seen him somewhere before. Moreover, she felt very familiar with him. However, this was clearly the first time they had met. Besides, this was senior sister's man, but now that young Ruolan pointed it out, she finally understood who this brother-in-law resembled Chu Yang, like the person she yearned for day and night. A little. Tai Butian's voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Just a little? Young Ruolan asked, unwilling to give up. Yes, a little. Tai Butian covered her face and lowered her head. Her swan-like beautiful neck was exposed. However, it was already red with embarrassment. Young Ruolan became excited at once. Then tell me more about him. The more detailed, the better. Tai Butian was dumbfounded. She looked at young Ruolan pitifully and stuttered, Senior sister. Senior, this pitiful emperor felt embarrassed for the first time. She was too ashamed to show her face. She turned her head and looked at her son. Suddenly, she had a feeling, I can't wait to grab this little fellow and stuff him back into my belly. Under Yang Ruolan's hopeful and anxious gaze, Tai Butian's eyes were dull. She started to tell her story while stuttering. How did the two of you meet? What happened at that time? What did he say to you? How did the two of you have a child? One question after another came out like a cannonball. Tai Butian felt dizzy and lightheaded. She saw stars and was dazzled. This emperor, who could still remain calm in the face of tens of millions of soldiers, was now a living example of a stuttering patient. Furthermore, she was a stuttering patient who had committed a crime. She lowered her head and told the story one by one as if she was admitting her guilt. Yet, the judge was very interested in all the facts of the crime. He kept going over and over again, not getting tired of it. He was determined to get every single detail out of her. By the time he asked the last question, Tai Butian almost had a feeling, forget it if she fainted, I'm done. Are you done? Yang Ruolan sighed as if she hadn't had enough. Yes. Her Majesty's voice was like a mosquito's buzzing. That's all. Yes, he has suffered too much, poor child. Yang Ruolan's tears dripped down as she said this. Yang Ruolan obviously didn't dare to be completely sure. But, she was vaguely certain in her heart, this king of Hell Chu is the real king of Hell Chu. The one she saw was definitely a fake. And, there was an 80% chance that the real king of Hell Chu was her lost son. As for what happened before coming to Iron Cloud, you have to ask Wu Qian. She's in the palace now, Tai Butian said hesitantly. Quickly betray someone and share my burden. Sister, I really can't take it anymore. Yes. How could I forget her? That girl is his senior sister. Yang Ruolan stood up excitedly. Her face was flushed red as she said, I'll go and find her now. Yes, this. Senior, please do as you wish. Tai Butian felt that her tongue was no longer bent. She nodded and bowed as she said, yes, you have a good rest. Yang Ruolan leaned over and looked at Tai Yang who was sleeping soundly. Her gaze was completely different this time. I'll send you. Tai Butian hurriedly jumped up from the bed. She was attentive and careful to please her. Don't, you just gave birth. You should rest well. Yang Ruolan hurriedly pressed her shoulder. She watched Yang Ruolan walk out with a whoosh. Tai Butian's face was red. She sat on the bed in a daze. She only felt that her whole body was alternating between hot and cold. After a long time, she suddenly moaned weakly and fell on the bed. She pulled the blanket over her head and covered herself with it. God, let me die, what will happen to this matter? Boo-hoo, what if it's true, what should I do? Chapter 587. NP Wu Qianqian sat quietly in her room. She hadn't slept for the past few days. My goal is in the heavens. This was what Chu Yang had said. So I want to go too. I won't let you see me, but I want to see you. To help you. Qianqian, when Tiantian is 1 month old, I will bring you back to the upper 3 heavens. There, I will recommend a great teacher to you. Your future is limitless. This was what Lan Meixian had said. Even a monarch or saint might be possible. Even a supreme martial artist would have to depend on your hard work. Don't let your talent go to waste. I won't let him down. The stronger I am, the more I can help him. You have to help me take a look at him. You have to help me help him. But, don't let him know about Tai Yang. Tai Butian's voice sounded in her mind again. Wu Qianqian sighed. The two of them were really in the same boat. She still remembered the conversation she had with Tai Butian that day when Chu Yang had left. How many women in this world are willing to spend their whole lives with each other and grow old together? But until they die of old age, they have never truly given their feelings and love for each other. Although they have many children and grandchildren and are overflowing with kinship, true love is always in solitude. How many extraordinary men are there in this world? There are tens of billions of people and tens of billions of women in the heavens. How many of them are able to have a relationship with the man that they truly like and have truly conquered them? I've had enough. I'm content. I don't ask for anything else. If I force him to take responsibility, he will naturally take responsibility. But what's the point of taking responsibility like that? It's better to love one-sidedly. At least, I can still have some fantasies in my heart. Women all like strong men, especially strong men who are young and handsome, heroic and courageous. Which woman doesn't like them? Therefore, heroes are destined to be entangled in love and sin. But heroes may not be sentimental. Chu Yang is not a sentimental person. He's also not a playboy. He may look cunning and vicious, but deep down, he is a very upright person. The so-called cunning, wretched, hooligan and scheming are all his methods and not his character. Everything he says has a purpose. Even when he did some ridiculous things, it was still shocking when he revealed his true motive. This kind of man would not be pestered or moved by her. His heart is like a piece of iron. Wu Qian still remembered the look in Tai Bu Tian's eyes when she said his heart is like a piece of iron. It was so strange and complicated. And pride. If his heart could be easily changed, and he could be easily attracted by a beautiful woman, or even me, then would he still be Chu Yang? Will we still be in so much pain for him? Is a man who changes so easily worth our love? At that time, Wu Qianqian's last retort had left Tai Butian speechless for 3 days. Although there was no hope, although they didn't know, and although they had been tactfully rejected, the feelings of these two women towards Chu Yang didn't diminish in the slightest. She thought, pondered, deduced, and fantasized. Sometimes she cried, sometimes she laughed. I will go to the upper 3 heavens in a few days. Chu Yang will go to the upper 3 heavens sooner or later. So, I will wait for him in the upper 3 heavens. Wu Qianqian only woke up from her contemplation when she heard that Yang Ruolan had come to see her. She hurriedly received her. She was very suspicious. I don't know why Yang Ruolan is looking for me in the wee hours of the morning. Did something happen on Tai Butian's side? Wu Qianqian waited for Yang Ruolan to sit down before she cautiously asked, Senior, may I ask why you came in the wee hours of the night? It's nothing serious. Yang Ruolan's mood had calmed down. She still had desire, but she was inexplicably worried and fearful. Her intuition was the closest to King of Hell Chu this time. It was also the most hopeful. If it's not. She didn't know if she could withstand such a blow. Could she continue to muster the courage to search? I'm here to ask about your junior martial brother, the real King Hua of Chu. Yang Ruolan sorted out her thoughts and asked. Before he came to Iron Cloud, he was in the sect. If it's convenient for you, I would like to ask Miss Wu to talk with me. Chu Yang. Wu Qianqian's eyes lit up when she heard this name. Then, she became suspicious. Why are you asking about Chu Yang? Yang Ruolan said, I don't have any other intentions. I don't have any evil intentions. I just want to know. Don't worry. Wu Qianqian nodded and said, I don't know what Senior wants to know. I didn't have much contact with Chu Yang when I was at Beyond the Heavens sect. Thinking about what Chu Yang had done in Beyond the Heavens sect, Wu Qianqian couldn't help but smile with her pair of crescent moon-like eyebrows. Then tell me what you know. Yang Ruolan looked at Wu Qianqian's expression, and couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth. It seems, this young King of Hell Chu has attracted a lot of love debts. This little Ni is obviously in love with him. I hadn't seen Chu Yang before 2 years ago. He used to be taciturn in the sect. He was somewhat dull. He didn't like to talk. He was the kind of person who would quickly vanish into the crowd, Wu Qianqian said while pondering. Oh! This opening was beyond Yang Ruolan's expectations. The future all-powerful King of Hell Chu was like this when he was young. Martial Uncle Meng of Purple Bamboo Garden was the most knowledgeable person in the older generation of Beyond the Heavens sect. He knew everything about the 3 sects. Moreover, he was the most indifferent and didn't care about anything. At that time, Father and the others evaluated Martial Uncle Meng's 3 younger brothers. They said that the eldest brother was mature and steady. He was resourceful. The second brother Chu Yang was taciturn. The third brother Tan Tan was the most unreliable person in Beyond the Heavens sect, until that day. I followed Father's orders to go to Purple Bamboo Garden. Wu Qianqian's eyes flickered as she recalled the events of that day. I suddenly realized that this rumor was seriously untrue. The difference between the eldest brother Shi Qianshan and the second brother Chu Yang was like heaven and earth. Chu Yang's resourcefulness far surpassed Shi Qianshan's by more than one-fold. Then, why is he usually taciturn? The conflict between Chu Yang and Shi Qianshan was like a fight between two ants in the eyes of an emperor-level expert like Yang Ruolan. However, Yang Ruolan's heart surged as she listened. She couldn't help but ask. I think this may have something to do with his past. Wu Qianqian smiled and said, Chu Yang, he, after all, thinks that he is an abandoned child. Since his heartless parents abandoned him, he knows about this matter. That's why he doesn't want to talk. Wu Qianqian smiled and said, in fact, this is human nature. It's not surprising. Generally speaking, a child with a pitiful past is always unwilling to talk. Chu Yang is smart and scheming. However, he is only a human after all. He is not a deity. So, he must have a stone in his heart. Wu Qianqian explained with a smile. She explained for Chu Yang, I won't allow anyone to say anything bad about Chu Yang. However, she didn't expect that her words would be such a blow to Yang Ruolan. Yang Ruolan's face suddenly turned pale. Her eyes were also filled with tears. Heartless parents abandoned me. Stone in his heart. Heartless parents. Yang Ruolan's body swayed. Her eyes were lifeless. He must hate his parents, right? Yang Ruolan smiled bitterly. Wu Qianqian was immersed in her memories. She didn't realize it and said, of course. There was once when he came to Iron Cloud from overseas. We were in the same room dealing with affairs. We had nothing to do that day. So, we talked about his past. What did he say? Yang Ruolan asked nervously. Wu Qianqian raised her head and looked at her in surprise. She seemed to be wondering why she was so nervous. She said, when we were returning from the streets, we saw too many parents putting straw signs on their children's heads. They sold their children in order to survive. At that time, I said that these children were pitiful. Then, Chu Yang said something. What did he say? Yang Ruolan asked anxiously. Wu Qianqian raised her head and recalled Chu Yang's tone and expression. After a long time, she said, at that time, Chu Yang said, these children aren't pitiful because they still have some value. At least they know that their parents were forced to sell them. Even if they left their parents, they still had to pay a price. So, they knew and didn't resist. The most miserable ones were those who were thrown away like trash when they were just born. Those were the most miserable ones. They didn't have the least bit of value. They didn't even have the qualifications to be sold. When he said this, I knew that he must have thought of his past. So, I didn't dare to say anything. Chu Yang sighed for a long time and asked me to buy all the children that day. Then, Bu Tian Pavilion would pay for them and send them to school. That is the current Cloud Sky School. It would take in all the children who were forced to be sold. Even though Chu Yang has left, this work has never stopped. His Majesty and Bu Tian Pavilion have been doing this all this time. Yang Ruolan did not hear what Wu Qianqian said after that. Her mind was buzzing, and she only replied with one sentence. The most pitiful ones are those who were thrown away like trash when they were just born. That is the most pitiful. They didn't have the least bit of value. They didn't even have the qualifications to be sold. These words echoed repeatedly. Yang Ruolan only felt that her heart had also shattered into pieces. Her spirit had also been crushed over and over again, and had turned into dust. When Chu Yang said this, what was he thinking? Did his heart hurt? Did he hate? When he said this, his heart was also broken, right? A wandering life with a very cold heart. When she was writing this chapter, she suddenly remembered a poem, Lu Yu's Chao Kuo, youthful looks don't enter the field of youths, speechless only desolation. A wandering life with a very cold heart. At the end of the river, new poems and old dreams, lonely and resentful fragrance. Even if the spring breeze doesn't care, it also knows the Eastern Emperor. From that plum blossom's aloofness, I thought of our Chu Yang. Suddenly, I felt some regret. So, I composed a poem for our king of Hell Chu. How can a wandering life be described? I travel alone with a sword. A cold light is proud and aloof, piercing through the mountains and rivers. Seeing through the world of mortals, cold and disdainful, what regrets do I have in this life? Chapter 588. Even if this wandering life could create an eternal legend, and could create an all-powerful king of Hell Chu, in the heart of a child, he still hoped that his parents would protect him from a young age. In the hearts of parents, wouldn't they rather give up such a legend to see their child grow up safely? Young Ruolan's eyes were brimming with tears. Her heart was broken. I still remember the strange expression on Chu Yang's face when he said those words. Wu Qianhua tried her best to recall. She said, it was a kind of inferiority, resentment, self-pity, and a kind of disheartened heart. At that time, I almost cried. Young Ruolan also almost cried out. Poor child. At that time, I said that although your life was pitiful, your parents didn't expect that you would become an influential person when they abandoned you. If they knew, who knows how regretful they would be. Wu Qian's eyes were a little bleak. At that time, Chu Yang gritted his teeth and said, when I find them, if they really regret it and turn around to curry favor with me, I will kill them one by one. Wu Qian unconsciously imitated Chu Yang's tone when she said these words. The resentment in her tone was like dripping blood. Young Ruolan trembled. She only felt a chill rising from the soles of her feet. It instantly spread throughout her body, and went straight to the top of her head. Young Ruolan didn't remember the conversation after that. When she left, Young Ruolan's mind became clear for a while. She asked, Chen, you grew up with him. Did you find that he had a purple jade pendant? Wu Chen didn't even think this time. She said, no. At least, I didn't see it. Then, she understood something. She was somewhat flabbergasted. She said, Elder, are you suspecting that Chu Yang is your missing child? This. Young Ruolan left dejectedly. Her feet were high, and her feet were low. It was as if she was sleepwalking. When she asked about the purple jade pendant, Wu Chen didn't even think about it. These two words gave her a heavy blow. In terms of understanding of Chu Yang, no one could compare to Wu Chen. But Wu Chen said no. Isn't it? Isn't it? Young Ruolan walked out. She faced the night wind. Her heart was in a mess. Suddenly, he felt that this matter was full of fog. After a long while, she began to comb her hair carefully. The king of Hell Chu I saw wasn't the king of Hell Chu of the lower three heavens. The king of Hell Chu looked exactly like his son, and Tai Butian said that the king of Hell Chu looked exactly like her husband. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. He recalled Chu Fei Ling's words, my sworn younger brother looks very similar to me. Young Ruolan's body trembled. She suddenly stood still. She remembered that she had doubted him and said, he's only known you for 2 days, why would he give you so many good things? Could it be a ploy? Or do they have any ulterior motives? Young Ruolan suddenly burst into tears as she recalled the conversation between the husband and wife. Could it be him? Could it be that he found out about her identity at that time, so he gave her husband so many good things? And he even gave me a sword. After all, even if they were sworn brothers, they wouldn't be so generous after only 2 days of contact, right? It should be known that those things were more precious than heavenly treasures. Each of them could change a person's fate, but if it was really him, why didn't he admit it? Since he had given so many things, it meant that there was no hatred in his heart. Why didn't he admit it? Young Ruolan's heart was in extreme pain. She suddenly squatted down, covered her face with her hands, and burst into tears. Young Ruolan finally returned to her residence at dawn. She woke up Chu Fei Ling, who was snoring. She didn't say anything, and used a wet and cold towel to wipe her husband's face. Chu Fei Ling immediately opened his eyes with vigor. He angrily said, "What are you doing?" Quickly. Young Ruolan's expression was very strange. She said with some fear and trepidation, Do you still remember your sworn younger brother? You told me about him. Of course I remember my brother, Chu Fei Ling said inexplicably. What does your sworn younger brother look like? What did you talk about when you were together? Tell me everything in detail, Young Ruolan urged. She hadn't slept for a night, but she was still full of energy. Her eyes were shining when she asked this question. Her mouth was moving up and down. She was obviously very moved. Chu Fei Ling was stunned. It had been so long. How could she still remember? Why did his wife suddenly ask about this matter at this time? Tell me quickly. What kind of person is your sworn younger brother? Yang Ruolan bit her lips when she said the word sworn younger brother. She sighed heavily. She had a feeling in her heart, if it's true, then my husband has really made a big joke of himself this time. Well, my sworn younger brother is naturally very handsome and confident. Chu Fei Ling's spirit was lifted. He smiled easily and said, that guy is young, but he's really a rare talent. He's courageous and knowledgeable. He's brave and resourceful. He's the first young hero I've ever seen. None of the young talents of the big clans of the upper three heavens can compare to him. Chu Fei Ling felt that something was wrong as he spoke. Why is my wife's expression so strange today? In the past, Yang Ruolan would listen to him with a smile when he talked about this matter, but she would be more or less perfunctory. After all, she hadn't seen him in person. But today was different. Yang Ruolan had a satisfied smile on her lips. She didn't seem to get tired of hearing him boast about his sworn brother. Especially when she heard those exaggerated adjectives. Her eyes were shining when she heard them. It seemed that even if he said more, it would be fine. I'm willing to listen to such an expression. Moreover, she looked very proud, very proud. Are you done? Yang Ruolan asked, is that all? Chu Fei Ling felt dizzy. He stretched out his hand to touch his wife's forehead. Are you okay today? Yang Ruolan slapped his hand away and said, is there more? No. No. Yang Ruolan's eyes showed signs of anger. You and your sworn younger brother traveled together for several days. You faced life and death together and killed strong enemies together. Your sworn younger brother also gave you so many good things. You've been friends for such a long time. Why didn't you talk normally? Talk? Chu Feiling was confused. What talk? It's the conversation between the two of you. What did you say? What did you talk about? What did he say? Didn't he say anything about his facial expressions? Yang Ruolan asked while clenching her teeth. Oh my God. Chu Feiling jumped up. How can I remember all of this? So much time has passed. Even a deity can't remember, right? Besides, what's the point of investigating this? My sworn younger brother is really a man. You must remember something, right? Who asked you if he was a man or a woman? Do you think that I have the leisure to be jealous of you at this time? Yang Ruolan's eyes became dangerous. Don't tell me that you've forgotten everything. He was such a good kid. His kindness to you was as high as the sky and as deep as the earth. How can you forget everything? I think. Chu Fei Ling raised his hands in surrender. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What a good kid. What kid? He's my sworn brother. You can't say that even if you're my sister-in-law. You've messed up the seniority. What a scandal. But how could he dare to say these words in front of his wife? Let me remind you, Yang Ruolan saw that her husband was being perfunctory. So, she said, was your sworn younger brother ecstatic when you became sworn brothers? Or, did you coincide with each other? No way. Chu Fei Ling immediately recalled, that little boy seemed to have suffered a great shock at that time. He stuttered a little. Ha ha. Speaking of which, I was a little presumptuous when I brought it up. No wonder he couldn't accept it. How much of a shock? Stuttering? You're a pig head. Yang Ruolan fiercely scolded him in her heart. Then, she hurriedly asked, do you remember the situation at that time? Of course. Chu Fei Ling smiled and said, at that time, I said, it's rare that you and I hit it off so well. Why don't we become sworn brothers? Then, that little brother was stunned. Ha ha ha. That guy actually said that I was a big shot. Then, I said, are you looking down on me? Ha ha ha. So, he didn't know what to do. Then, Chu Fei Ling spoke and gestured, and recounted the scene at that time. This matter had left a deep impression in his heart. Moreover, he had half forced himself to become sworn brothers with that guy. So, how could he forget? That's it. I almost pressed him down to kowtow. That guy looked as if he was in a dream even after he finished kowtowing. His face was also very ugly. No, it was a very pleasantly surprised expression. Yes, yes, yes. Chu Fei Ling recalled how his sworn brother had looked when he had lost his soul. So, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Yong Ruolan held her forehead with one hand. She sighed deeply in her heart. Ugly face. Lost his soul? He was forced by his own father to become sworn brothers with his own father. How can he look good? You would have fainted if you were in his place. No, no, no. You would have already fainted. Yong Ruolan could have killed herself if she hadn't been sure that this was her son after hearing this. She couldn't help but look at her husband with some pity in her eyes. This poor guy is still in a dream. But, he's saying that others are dreaming, and then? Yong Ruolan asked, you must have had a lot to say after becoming sworn brothers, right? Yes. Chu Fei Ling sighed. You also know that the matter of that year has been pressing down on my heart like a mountain. It's making it hard for me to breathe. I don't dare to talk about it in front of my father-in-law or in my own home. Especially in front of you. I had a bellyful of bitterness that day. So, I naturally had to tell my brother about that day. We talked about that snowy night 18 years ago. It's also the thing that we regret our entire lives. Chapter 589. Chu Feiling was stunned. He stuttered. I said, why? Can't I say it? Who said I can't? Yong Ruolan glared at him. Why are you so stupid? What's next? What next? Chu Feiling was really confused today. He was about to break down. Wife, what are you talking about? You're very strange today. I'm going crazy. Yong Ruolan glared at him frantically. She was fuming. This bastard, he actually started to interrupt when we were talking about the most important part. Do you know that I'm burning with anxiety now? She looked up at the sky speechlessly and muttered, I'm really strange now. Why did I marry you in the first place? Chu Fei Ling's expression turned gloomy. He let out a long sigh and said sadly, you're right. If you hadn't married me back then, your life would have been much happier than it is now. Speaking of which, I've implicated you. It's all because of the internal strife of my Chu clan that you've suffered for so many years. Yong Ruolan's eyes turned white. She slumped down on the bed. She was extremely speechless. She wanted to cry, but had no tears to shed. She pleaded, damn it. I asked you to continue. Go on. Chu Feiling felt a wave of depression rise from his heart. He muttered in his heart, I've never seen anyone being addicted to listening to their self-reflection. But this matter is really a disaster for my clan. So, he had no choice but to continue the examination with a bitter face. For so many years, if it wasn't for our Chu clan, you would be so happy now. Ruolan, marrying me, is really hard on you. Chu Feiling's last sentence was filled with sincerity and emotion. In these 18 years, every time Yong Ruolan was in a bad mood because she missed her son, Chu Feiling would reflect on himself when he had no other choice. He would talk until he was in tears. Yong Ruolan's sadness would disappear without a trace, and she would comfort him instead. This trick worked every time. It had become a routine in these 18 years. Chu Feiling had practiced self-reflection to the point where he could speak eloquently in order to coax his wife. But this trick obviously didn't work today. Yong Ruolan jumped up and strangled Chu Feiling's neck. You pig, are you trying to anger me to death? You've been using this trick to coax me for 18 years. I'm afraid of hurting you, so I've been feigning civility every time. Now, you're actually using the same trick again. You. Do you really want to anger me to death? Yong Ruolan was furious. This pig, does he even know what he's saying? Chu Feiling was completely stunned. So, his trick had been seen through long ago. He couldn't help but feel embarrassed as he said, Wife, you're so good. You haven't exposed me for so many years. How did she expose me today? Go on. Yong Ruolan was infuriated by him. Her heart felt as if 25 kittens had drilled into it, and 100 claws were scratching at it. Haven't you been listening to it for 18 years? Chu Filing was so depressed that he wanted to die. You just said that you were going to die from anger. What do you want me to do? Yong Ruolan looked at her husband's aggrieved and gloomy face. So, she hammered her head against the quilt in a dejected manner. She resisted the urge to vomit blood. Then, she used an extremely gentle voice to guide him patiently. Didn't you just say that you and your sworn brother had a long talk after you became sworn brothers? Am I right? Yes. Chu Filing nodded earnestly. Then, can you continue to speak? Go on, tell me what you two talked about, okay? Yang Ruolan looked at him with eyes that seemed to be spitting fire. She was so angry that her chest was about to explode. Then, she suddenly roared, okay? There was a buzzing sound, and the guards and palace maids in the vicinity of the palace rolled their eyes at the same time. They had fainted because of this roar. How could these people bear the roar of an emperor-level expert? Chu Filing was the first to bear the brunt of it. He also felt as if a bell and a drum were ringing in his ears for a while. Then, he came to his senses and said with a bitter smile, "So, this is it. I thought." "Speak quickly." Yang Ruolan interrupted him without any trace of politeness. Then, she sat upright and still. Her body was slightly bent forward, and she assumed an extremely serious posture of listening. This gave Chu Filing a fright. It was like this at that time. I talked about the regretful things of the past, and my heart was filled with endless sadness. I had no choice but to praise my sworn younger brother when I said this. He actually felt the same way as me at that time. In fact, he even cried with me. He's such a pure and innocent young man. Chu Filing sighed with emotion. He was able to empathize with other people's experiences to such an extent. This is enough to show how kind-hearted my sworn younger brother is. The corner of Yang Ruolan's mouth twitched. She thought, you're talking about his personal experiences that he doesn't know about. How can he not cry? And, you're still praising him for being kind-hearted? You're going too far from the truth. She wanted to laugh when she thought of this. But, she sighed deeply in an instant. Then, she thought of another matter, and her heart suddenly throbbed with pain. She felt extremely sour. My sworn younger brother cried with me. It turns out that my poor child also cried at that time. I turned around after I finished speaking, and saw that my sworn younger brother's face was full of tears. He was sobbing. I was startled at that time. A warm smile appeared on Chu Filing's face as he said, my sworn younger brother cried and said that he was very moved. Yang Ruolan turned her face away. She gnashed her teeth, and her face became somewhat distorted. She thought, I was very moved. I was so moved that I wanted to strangle you to death. Did he give you a gift before you became sworn brothers? Or after you became sworn brothers? Yang Ruolan sighed and asked this question that she was very concerned about. My sworn younger brother gave me a gift after we became sworn brothers. Chu Filing recalled the scene of that day, and became fascinated. He said with a smile, my sworn younger brother is really a good person. It's settled. It's definitely him. Yang Ruolan's eyes flowed with tears. But, a sweet smile bloomed at the corners of her mouth. She felt as if a big stone had been lifted from her heart. How is your sworn younger brother a good person? Chu Filing's face was brimming with gratitude. He affectionately said, before we became sworn brothers, I had told him that his sister-in-law, that is, you, had a problem with chest pain. Then, he immediately took out an elixir, and asked me to treat your chest pain. That was a heavenly elixir. Yang Ruolan only felt a warm current flowing through her heart. Her whole body had never felt so comfortable before. Her chest felt warm, and the blood in her body seemed to be flowing rapidly. She couldn't help but shed 2 drops of happy tears. She thought in a daze, so my illness was cured by my sworn brother because he missed me, his mother. Her heart felt sour, sweet, bitter, and tired in an instant. She wanted to cry out loud, and cry until she was hovering between life and death. Then, my sworn younger brother asked about my cultivation. Then, he gave me 2 exceptional elixirs that were even better than those elixirs. They were elixirs that could help us advance by a big realm. And, he especially told me that you and my sister-in-law should each have one. My sworn younger brother seriously told me these words for a long time. He also told me to take one on the spot. He guarded me, and I advanced smoothly. Chu Filing said with satisfaction. My sworn brother was afraid that our strength was too weak, and we would get killed if we weren't careful. So, he gave it to us. These 2 elixirs were my sworn brother's filial piety. Sister-in-law? Yong Ruo Lan finally reacted. She looked at Chu Filing with eyes that seemed as if they were about to spew fire. Ah! Chu Filing was confused. He looked at her in astonishment. What's wrong? Yong Ruo Lan stared at him for a long time. It seemed as if she wanted to eat him alive. Then, she waved her hand weakly. It's nothing. You can continue. You're very strange today. So strange that it's inexplicable. Chu Filing muttered. Then, my sworn younger brother saw that my saber was damaged in the battle. So, he simply gave me another saber. Then, he gave me a sword. He said that it was for Madam. It was for you. I even reprimanded him at that time. Reprimanded him? Yong Ruo Lan's beautiful eyes opened wide. Why? He stuttered at that time. He said that it was for Madam. Chu Filing shook his head and laughed. He calmly said, Humph. He and I have already become sworn brothers. So, how can he still call you Madam? He should have called you sister-in-law. So, I sternly reprimanded him. I reprimanded him until he was sweating profusely. As an elder brother, he needs to act like one. Yong Ruo Lan opened her mouth wide. She looked at him in shock. It seemed as if she was looking at a non-human. You're really something. He doesn't dare to call you that. But, you force him to change it. And, you still act so dignified. At this moment, Yong Ruo Lan looked at Chu Filing with a gaze full of admiration. He's worthy of worship. I'm afraid that you're the only one in the whole world who has become sworn brothers with your own son. No, not only in the whole world, but also in the whole world since ancient times. It's absolutely unprecedented. You're awesome. Yong Ruo Lan raised her thumb and stuck it under Chu Filing's nose. You're awesome. Yong Ruo Lan's heart was filled with happiness and satisfaction at this moment. She knew that her son had unknowingly given her so many good things. Each of them was ingenious. Yong Ruo Lan's heart was overflowing with happiness. So, she was in the mood to joke with Chu Filing. That's natural. Chu Filing solemnly said, my sworn younger brother is a genius. But, he still has to show some seniority in front of me. Don't flatter yourself. Go on. A sweet smile hung on Yong Ruo Lan's face. Chu Filing's eyes widened as he looked at her. And, his heart almost skipped a beat. So, he hastily restrained his mind, and continued to speak. Then, my sworn younger brother gave us 2 bottles of medicine that can conceal our aura. He said that it can make others unable to see our true strength. Chu Filing sighed. He was somewhat ashamed. I was too ashamed to show my face at that time. My sworn younger brother gave us so many treasures in addition to the mysterious young jade core. So, I immediately took my leave. My sworn younger brother is kind-hearted. He comforted me before he left. He even praised our son. Chu Filing repeatedly shook his head. He was obviously very satisfied with his sworn younger brother. He praised our son? Yong Ruo Lan's small mouth was half open. She was dumbstruck. I'm very ashamed. Cough cough. I felt that the suspense I left behind yesterday's update was somewhat unkind. Cough cough cough. So, I worked overtime all night. I wrote a chapter until 3:30 in the morning. Then, I couldn't take it anymore. So, I went to sleep. I'll explode today. I'll ask for monthly votes first. The monthly votes are being chased very tightly. I need your help. Please don't blame me for urging you to get your recommendation votes. But, our recommendation votes are too few. The new books in the same period have more than 1 million recommendation votes. And, we haven't even passed 500,000. I feel inferior. I want to break through 500,000 recommendation votes this week. Please help me. Chapter 590. Yes, he comforted me at that time. He said that our son will be found. Maybe he is already a young hero. Chu Fei Ling chuckled and said, I said at that time. I said that I would be satisfied if Xiao Quan could be 1/10 or 2/10 of my sworn brother. My sworn brother immediately comforted me, saying that our son must be very promising. Moreover, he's handsome, confident, and elegant. He's young and promising, and has a demeanor and temperament. Young ladies will be dizzy and disoriented when they see him. Chu Fei Ling smiled and said, I knew that he was comforting me. But, it is strange that my mental illness has improved a lot after that time. Yong Ruolan opened her eyes wide. She opened her small mouth. She was petrified on the spot. Her eyebrows twitched for a long time. The corners of her mouth twitched. Then, the look in her eyes became even more strange. She finally came to her senses. She looked at her husband as if she was looking at an immortal. She couldn't help but smile. Your son must be very promising. Yes, he must be very promising. He turned the entire lower 3 heavens around by himself. If this isn't promising, then what is? Your son must be handsome, confident, and elegant, right? He is young and promising. He also has a demeanor and temperament. This point should not be wrong. Young ladies will be dizzy and disoriented when they see him. I absolutely believe this. Just look at Wu Qian and Tai Biu Tian. These 2 girls are from Tian Xiong. The Empress had willingly given birth to a child for him. If that wasn't enough to make her dizzy, then what was? It's just that, these words coming from his own mouth, are a little too funny, right? The smile on Yang Ruolan's face gradually spread. It gradually spread to her entire face. She laughed silently. Even if it's all true, there's still one more thing to add. Your son's skin is also extraordinarily thick. Your sworn brother is very interesting. Yang Ruolan looked at her husband with a faint smile. That little one is indeed not bad. Chu Fei Ling felt honored when his sworn brother was praised. So, he happily replied. Fei Ling, there is something. I think I have to tell you. Yang Ruolan let out a long sigh. What is it? Yes, our son was lost 18 years and months ago. Yang Ruolan said slowly. Ah. Chu Fei Ling sighed. This matter is really worrying. Yang Ruolan ignored him and said, it is said that King of Hell Chu was an abandoned child. 18 years ago. King of Hell Chu's master, Meng Chao Ran, picked him up. Ah. Chu Fei Ling's eyes widened. You also know that Her Majesty the Empress of the Imperial Palace, my junior martial sister, has just given birth to a child. And, that child belongs to King of Hell Chu. Yang Ruolan slowly said, that child's appearance is said to be exactly the same as King of Hell Chu's. And, junior sister said that King of Hell Chu's appearance is 80% similar to yours. Chu Fei Ling opened his mouth wide. From this, I can conclude that the King of Hell Chu I found the last time was a fake. And, I haven't even seen the real King of Hell Chu, Yang Ruolan snorted. Huh. Chu Fei Ling's face darkened. The sworn brother you met in Shangan is also surnamed Chu, and his name is also Chu Yang. He has the same name as King of Hell Chu, Yang Ruolan said slowly. Hey! Chu Fei Ling's face turned green. So, we can conclude that your sworn brother is King of Hell Chu. Yang Ruolan pressed on. Yes. Cold sweat seeped out of Chu Fei Ling's forehead. You said that you and your sworn brother are fated to meet. His appearance is 80% similar to yours. Yang Ruolan looked at her husband fiercely. Aye. Chu Fei Ling's whole body became hot. He felt that his vision was a little blurry, and his mind was a little muddled. You and your sworn brother became friends for 2 days. And, he gave you the mysterious young jade core and a rare elixir. He also gave you 2 divine weapons, which are rare even in the entire heavens. Moreover, your sworn brother still remembers every word you said. He also remembers your wife's illness. And, he doesn't forget to give your wife a share of the good things he gives you. But you and your second brother, who was born from the same mother, grew up naked together, and only wanted to kill you. Your sworn brother gave you so much in 2 days. He gave it all to you as if he was moving house. And, he was afraid that you wouldn't want it. I find it strange. Why didn't he give it to anyone else apart from you and me? Chu Fei Ling's face turned black and green. He should dig a hole and bury himself if he couldn't understand what young Ruolan was implying. Your sworn brother is shrewd and resourceful. He's the number one person of the younger generation. He's ruthless and decisive. But he's so devoted to a person he met by chance. Is this possible? If he was really so careless, who knows how many times he would have died by now? How could he be worthy of your praise? Doesn't he know that an ordinary man's wealth is his own ruin? Even the best of brothers can't help but be tempted by their own interests, right? What's more, he took out all the peerless treasures. Wasn't he worried that you'd snatch them from him? Did you kill him? How could he trust you so much? And your sworn brother is so witty and resourceful. Why did he cry after you told him a story? Why are his feelings so fragile? It's only been 2 days, and your brother's feelings haven't even been tested. And he gave you everything. Young Ruolan became angrier as she spoke. Chu Filing. Are you a pig? Chu Filing was sweating profusely. He was in an extremely sorry state. Even his eyebrows were covered with sparkling and translucent beads of sweat. The beads of sweat dripped down his eyelashes and into his open mouth. But he didn't seem to feel anything. You mean, he's our son? Chu Filing muttered. What do you think? Young Ruolan glared at him with hatred. Oh my God. Chu Fei-ling sat on the ground, and his face immediately turned as red as a pig's liver. His whole body was sweating profusely. He was so ashamed that he couldn't show his face. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. Well, it wasn't a possibility. It was a fact. I really admire you. You've been looking for your son for 18 years. You've been so anxious. Now that you've finally met him, you've become sworn brothers with him. Moreover, your son isn't willing. But, as an old woman, you actually forced your son to become sworn brothers with you. You even pressed your son's head down and made him kowtow to you. Young Ruolan shook her head and sighed. Chu Filing. I really admire you. How heartless must you be to do such a thing? Becoming sworn brothers with your own son, forcing your son to call you big brother, and forcing your son to call his mother sister-in-law. Chu Filing, my dear husband, you're the only one in the entire heavenly layer. As young Ruolan continued to reprimand him, even she found it a little funny. Chu Fei-ling opened his eyes in a daze. His face turned ghastly pale, and then it turned into a pig's liver. Then, it turned into a wretched green color. His face was like a dragon. Finally, he covered his face. He groaned and fell to the ground. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's so embarrassing. Such a joke. Chu Filing felt that he would laugh himself to death if it happened to someone else. But it happened to him. This was the most embarrassing thing in the world. Finally, that little bastard. That bastard. Why didn't he say? Chu Filing jumped up. He was furious and his face was ferocious. He made me such a big joke. I'm afraid it's not that he didn't say it, but that you didn't give him a chance. Young Ruolan said lightly. Chu Fei-ling recalled the scene at that time and muttered to himself regretfully, no wonder he hesitated several times, but was forced by me to become sworn brothers without stopping for a moment. Young Ruolan was furious when she heard this. She pinched his ear hard. You still have the face to say it. If you gave him a chance to speak. I'm afraid my son would have returned home long ago. It's all your fault. You pig. Young Ruolan's heart was bleeding when she thought of how she should have reunited with her son long ago. She should have been muddle-headed and delayed for such a long time. Don't you know that my son hasn't returned home for 18 years? I haven't even seen my own son as his mother. You stupid pig, you actually said. Even if he became sworn brothers, he should have said it. How important is it to acknowledge one's ancestors? Chu Filing's face turned red as he shouted. But he stopped halfway. His voice became softer and softer. He became more and more guilty and lacked confidence. Young Ruolan was furious. Bastard. You've already cut the Gordian knot and become sworn brothers with him. How would he dare to say it? Won't you skin him alive if he says it? Chu Filing said one word. Then, he couldn't continue. He let out a long sigh of regret. He hugged his head and pulled his hair. Then, he squatted down. He didn't say anything. Young Ruolan was speechless. Both husband and wife were silent. Ruolan, this can't be spread out. Chu Filing suddenly remembered. He hurriedly grabbed his wife's hand and begged, if you say it out. I'll die. Young Ruolan was angry and amused at the same time. She shook off his hand. Do you think this can be hidden? At least, you can't hide it from father, right? Chu Filing was like a deflated balloon. Master is born with a big mouth, if he knows. It means that the Chu clan knows. If the Chu clan knows, it means that the Yang clan knows as well. That means that the upper three heavens knows. I don't want to live anymore. Young Ruolan was still angry. Chu Filing lost his temper and was stunned for a while. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, when that little bastard returns, if I don't spank his ass into 8 pieces, you'll what? You'll what? Young Ruolan sneered. She looked at him and asked, you'll what? Let me tell you, Chu Filing. When my son comes back, we owe him 18 years. 18 years. If you dare to lay a finger on him, I'll fight you to the death. Chu Filing was completely defeated. He fell to the ground and said weakly, I'm just saying, you can't even say it. Young Ruolan shouted. Chapter 591. Do I need you to tell me that? Young Ruolan rolled her eyes at him. She snorted coldly, but a happy and satisfied smile had already appeared on her face. Chu Filing immediately stood up and forgot about his embarrassing incident. He walked around excitedly. So, I have a grandson? Our Chu clan has another descendant. Ha ha ha. This is really double happiness. He rubbed his hands and was somewhat impatient. Oh yes, my grandson. I haven't seen him carefully. This. Ruolan, let's go to junior sister now. No, can I still call her junior sister? Do you want to call her sister-in-law? Young Ruolan asked teasingly. Chu Filing's old face suddenly turned red. He was so embarrassed that he didn't know what to do. He begged, can you not mention this matter? Humph. Young Ruolan snorted coldly. She frowned and said, it seems that there's no big problem if you want to acknowledge your son. But if you want to acknowledge your grandson, it's very difficult. You still need to consider, this matter can't be rushed. Why? Chu Filing wondered. Why? Isn't it because of your good son? He doesn't even have a status now. He doesn't even know that she's a woman. How much has she endured? She's a dignified supreme emperor, and she's still a virgin. She even gave birth to his child without a word. Young Ruolan sighed and was somewhat melancholy, and this child's status has been confirmed since he was born. The emperor of the empire, the only heir of Iron Cloud. How can we? But even if he's the emperor, he still has to acknowledge his ancestors, right? Chu Filing was dumbfounded. My grandson can't always be surnamed Iron, right? The point is, my junior sister doesn't want to acknowledge this relative. Young Ruolan sighed helplessly. She doesn't want Chu Yang to know. She sacrificed her chastity and her future to save your son's life. She gave birth to your son's child. How can you snatch her heart away like this? Chu Filing blurted out, won't it be fine if you let my son marry her? Your son still doesn't know that she's a woman. Even if your son is willing to marry her, she may not be willing to marry him. Young Ruolan had seen through everything. She sighed. Besides, she's the Iron Cloud Emperor's only successor. If she were to marry, what would she do with such a huge empire? This is a responsibility. If it were you, would you be able to abandon it? Chu Filing lowered his head and said in despair, are we just going to watch as my son, surname Tai? Young Ruolan frowned and said, these matters must be dealt with step by step. You mustn't be too hasty. Otherwise, it'll backfire and we'll be done for. Yes. Chu Filing could only suppress his emotions. Both husband and wife were thinking about something. But before they could look for Tai Butian came looking for them herself. Chu Filing and Young Ruolan sat in their chairs and looked at Tai Butian, who was sitting opposite them. Senior sister, I'm sorry for being so presumptuous. You won't be surprised, right? Tai Butian's expression was indifferent as she sat down leisurely. Then, she slowly raised her head and looked at Yang Ruolan calmly. Her expression was natural and calm, displaying the demeanor of an emperor. The fluster and shyness from last night, as well as her ladylike demeanor, were nowhere to be seen. Yang Ruolan's heart sank. The moment Tai Butian called her senior sister, Yang Ruolan felt something in her heart. Seeing her calm and composed demeanor, Yang Ruolan knew what she was going to say almost without Tai Butian saying anything. Junior sister, what's the matter? Yang Ruolan stammered. Yes, I've specially come to report something to senior sister. Tai Butian smiled calmly and said, Tai Yang is my son. I'm Tai Yang's father. This is the first thing. The second thing is that I don't want Chu Yang to know about this. Perhaps senior sister still doesn't know that not only does Chu Yang not know that I'm a girl, but there's also a girl in Chu Yang's heart whom he loves wholeheartedly. Yang Ruolan's eyes widened. Her. Tai Butian continued, for the woman in his heart, Chu Yang has never shown his true appearance to anyone in Iron Cloud. Wu Qianqian's beauty can be said to be unparalleled in the world. I'm confident that even among the daughters of the aristocratic families in the upper three heavens, there are only a handful who can compare to Wu Qianqian's beauty. Tai Butian said lightly, and Chu Yang is with her all the time. Wu Qianqian is deeply in love with him, but Chu Yang has never made any promises, or rather, he's never been tempted at all. She smiled slightly and said, if Chu Yang knows about Tai Yang's existence, he'll definitely be very conflicted. And, it's very likely that he'll create a tragedy. To me, to Chu Yang, and to the woman in Chu Yang's heart, it'll be a tragedy. In serious cases, it can even ruin a lifetime of happiness. Because Chu Yang is too responsible a man. Although he looks cunning on the surface, the righteousness and persistence in his heart are unimaginable. And I can feel that his feelings for the woman he loves have already surpassed life and death. He's already disregarding everything. And I don't want such a tragedy to happen. So, I don't want Chu Yang to know. Whether it's for myself, for Chu Yang, for that innocent woman, or even for the Chu clan. Chu Yang can't know about it. Tai Butian sat upright. Her slender figure was calm and steady. She said softly, so, please give me your blessings. Without waiting for Chu Filing and his wife to reply, she hurriedly continued, I can allow, and even welcome, you to visit Tai Yang often. You can even stay here every day. You can even take on the surname Chu. But in the lower three heavens, in Iron Cloud, he can only be called Tai Yang. He's from Iron Cloud. My only request is that you don't let Chu Yang know. I only ask you to promise me this one thing, that's all I've said. Senior sister, please consider it carefully. I'll take my leave now. Tai Butian smiled and stood up. She bowed deeply and walked out. She left in a carefree and decisive manner. Her fluttering figure disappeared outside the door. Yang Ruolan and Chu Filing were dumbfounded. They looked at each other. Tai Butian, this woman's persistence and perseverance were simply shocking. Her independence and stubbornness were something that the couple had never seen before in their lives. What should we do? Yang Ruolan slumped weakly on the chair. What should we do? Chu Filing sighed deeply. When our grandson is 1 month old, we'll immediately go to the lower three heavens to look for him. But this matter. Yang Ruolan said despondently, should we tell him or not? Let's take it one step at a time. Chu Filing sighed again. The couple sat opposite each other and sighed one after another. It was as if they had sighed all the sighs they could today. Tai Butian's words had already blocked all of their paths of hope and all of their path. Blocked all of them. Her words were very obvious. If you insist that this is your child, I'll admit it. You can visit him at any time. You can even stay here. Even if the entire Chu clan comes to see this child, I'm willing. But my only request is that you don't tell Chu Yang. Tai Butian slowly returned to her bedroom. She had just sat down when her face suddenly flushed red. Then, a mouthful of fresh blood suddenly flowed out from the corner of her lips. She took out a pure white silk handkerchief and covered her mouth. She coughed slightly. A large patch of blood immediately appeared on the silk handkerchief. Then, As if she had lost all her strength, she sat down on her throne. After a long time, she got up gently and walked to the side of the bed. The baby on the bed seemed to have sensed his mother's arrival. He started to struggle and dance. A cute smile appeared on his face, as if he longed for his mother's embrace. Tai Butian looked at him. Her gaze gradually became as gentle as spring water. She reached out her hands lovingly and carefully held her son in her arms. She looked at this tender face in a daze. The baby babbled, as if he was hungry. Tai Butian laughed softly. "Little fellow, you only know how to eat." She unbuttoned her clothes and carefully placed her nipples on the baby's mouth. Tai Yang immediately opened his little mouth and started to swallow in big mouthfuls. He looked at his mother with his black eyes as he ate. His little face was full of happiness. Tai Butian's heart was instantly filled with pure maternal love. After a long time, she lifted her gaze from her son's face. She looked somewhat despondently at the void, and muttered, "I love you. But, how can I destroy your happiness?" Her voice was faint and faint. It seemed to have melted in the wind as it left her lips. Then, it turned into a sigh. 3 days. During this period of time, it was like a raging fire. Mo Tianji took advantage of the destruction of the Meng clan to spread the news. Countless terrifying rumors flew out from the Mo clan, Dong clan, and other big clans. For example, Ao Xie has died in the hands of the Ou clan, Black Devil clan, and other clans. Even his bones are not left behind. These clans were ambitious. They wanted to destroy the Ao clan and replace it. The Jianghu was in chaos. The 3 days were in chaos. At the same time, the invisible falcons of the Xie clan were also coming and going. They were sending messages to the Ji clan, Mo clan, Dong clan, Luo clan, and Jiyu clan. Chu Yang had returned. Dong Wu Shong, Luo Ku Di, Ji Mo, and the others had returned. And, they were now at the Xie clan. Ao Xie had been rescued by Chu Yang and the others. He had also returned to the Ao clan. Chu Yang first passed this news to Mo Tianji. While waiting, Chu Yang said to Ao Xie, "The news of your survival. I think it's better not to leak out for the time being. Just spread the news that the big clans are hunting you down. That's good enough." Ao Xie nodded deeply. "I also think so. The Ao clan has been too comfortable these years. They also need to see blood to sharpen themselves. If the clan knows that I've returned safely, I'm afraid that countless elders of the Ao clan will cancel their revenge plans." He frowned. Moreover, these clans have become malignant tumors of the 3 heavens. They must be eliminated. Chu Yang nodded. No one knew that Ao Xie had followed them back to the Xie clan. Chu Yang had concealed this news from the beginning. In this regard, he and Mo Tianji's plan was undoubtedly the same. Sure enough, the invisible falcon flew over a few days later. It brought an extremely urgent news from Mo Tianji. Duke Xie's safety must not be leaked. The handwriting was very messy. It could be seen that Mo Tianji had hurriedly written these words the moment he had received the news. And, he had immediately sent it out. Chu Yang was absolutely sure that this invisible falcon wouldn't stay in Mo Tianji's hands for more than a breath. Third update. Requesting recommendation votes. Brothers and sisters, yesterday's recommendation votes were 7,000. Today, it's less than 3,500. Chapter 592. Great minds think alike. Chu Yang faintly smiled. Then, he began to ponder. The Xie clan's clan lord, Xie Guang'an, sat opposite him. His complexion was heavy as he said, "The entire 3 heavens have become a pot of paste. They're ready to strike at any time. But, Mo Tianji has seriously requested that our clans mustn't make the first move." He sighed and said, "This is somewhat torturous. We can't do anything apart from listening to the news every day. It's very uncomfortable. We obviously can't make the first move. Only Ao clan can make the first move in order to set off the biggest turmoil in the 3 heavens." Chu Yang didn't evade the taboo in front of Ao Xie. He said, "I'm afraid that we'll be hit with a bucket of shit if we make the first move. That would be very detrimental to our plan." Xie Guang'an sighed, "I don't know this, but I feel oppressed by this. But that's Mo Tianji's plan. And we have our own plan. Chu Yang nodded. His eyes emitted a crazy murderous intention as he said, Xie clan is located in the north. So, it and Ou clan are the only two clans in this vast area. Ou clan is close to the empty city now. So, we might as well eradicate the Ou clan first. Then, we'll sweep away any worries in the future. Xie Guang'an was startled. He said, how can this be? Didn't you say that we can't make the first move? Yes, who said that we can make the first move? Chu Yang strangely looked at him. Then, Xie Guang'an stroked his beard. He was somewhat perplexed. He stared at Chu Yang. He wanted to say, aren't you contradicting yourself? However, he didn't say it out loud after he thought for a while. You can't make a move on Xie clan. But, you didn't say that you can't make a move on our heavenly armament pavilion. Chu Yang mischievously smiled. Ou clan ambushed us in the past. And, they almost killed us. So, how can we not take revenge for this hatred? Xie Guang'an smiled and said, Minister Chu, it's understandable that your heavenly armament pavilion would make the first move. But, forgive me for being blunt. Your heavenly armament pavilion isn't weak. But, your strength is still a bit weak if you want to swallow the Ou clan. Yes. Chu Yang said in a matter of fact, don't we still have you? Moreover, the Xie clan is at the heart of the struggle. So, all the big clans have sent their experts here to protect their allies. Don't tell me that they're so idle as to watch us fight with our lives on the line. Xie Guang'an was stunned. Didn't you tell us not to move? When you wear our heavenly armament pavilion's clothes and put on our heavenly armament pavilion's masks, you are our heavenly armament pavilion's people. Who told your Xie clan to take action? Chu Yang was somewhat depressed. It was just a trivial matter, yet he had to explain it for so long. As the head of the family, he couldn't even compare to his son. However, he didn't know that the Xie clan had always been under the control of the Elders' Council. And, there was also the old ancestor above the Elders' Council. Xie Guang'an had become the clan lord in order to pave the way for Xie Danqiong to take over the clan lord's position in the future. Xie Danqiong had been born with the best aptitude in the Xie clan. So, the old ancestor had personally appointed him as the next clan lord. Xie Guang'an had ascended to the position of clan lord because of his son in order to avoid disputes within the clan. I see. Xie Guang'an hesitated. Is this all right? Chu Yang frowned and said, I'm in charge now. What he meant was, you stand further away and don't talk. Chu Yang immediately sent out a message. All the experts were to get ready. Then, he issued the order to fight. Chu Yang didn't hesitate. All the experts had assembled in a moment. There were 13 Emperor-level experts and 200 King-level experts in addition to the external expert. Chu Yang didn't use the experts below the King level. I also want to participate in this battle. Ao Xie Yun stepped forward and said seriously. He had already put on a mask on his face. All right. Chu Yang agreed. Wait a moment. Xie Ji Qiu stepped out of the void with a loud shout, and arrived in front of Chu Yang. The aura of this Xie clan's old ancestor had advanced a lot since the last time they had met. It had become deeper like the sea, and more majestic like a mountain. It seemed that his cultivation had made a breakthrough after he had obtained the mysterious jade ice crystal. He then said, Little brother, the Xie clan and the Ou clan have been here for several generations. Moreover, both sides have always been hostile. But, they have never fought each other. Do you know why? Is it because of the Ou clan's poison? Chu Yang's eyes flashed. Yes. Xie Ji Qiu nodded and said, the Ou clan's poison technique is the best in the three heavens. This old man forbids you from going into battle if you don't have a way to deal with the poison. That's because you won't be going to annihilate the enemy. Instead, you'll be throwing away your life. The poison is everywhere in the Ou clan's courtyard. It's impossible to guard against it. Chu Yang faintly smiled. He then said with confidence, Senior, don't worry. This junior already has a plan for this. He asked Ji Mo and Luo Kudi to carry out 2 big jugs of wine from their rooms. Each jug weighed 50 kilograms. They then shakily placed them in front of the team. This is my specially made detoxification wine. Everyone can drink a bowl of it. It can guarantee that you won't be invaded by 10,000 poisons for a period of time, Chu Yang calmly said. Won't be invaded by 10,000 poisons? Xie Qiu's pupils shrank. Let me try. Then, he stepped forward and scooped a bowl of wine. He drank it in one gulp. Then, he took out a pitch-black pill from his bosom and put it in his mouth. Old ancestor, you can't. Xie Guang'an loudly shouted. His voice was filled with panic. It doesn't matter. Xie Qiu pushed him aside. He smacked his lips after a long while. Then, he suspiciously said, this poison dragon pill has lost its effect after drinking a bowl of wine. What kind of medicinal wine is this? Why does it taste like our Xie clan's drunken immortal? But, our drunken immortal doesn't have the detoxification function. Chu Yang's face twitched. He let out 2 dry coughs, and said, this old man is old. But, his nose and mouth are still as intelligent as ever. He can even tell that this is your Xie clan's drunken immortal. These 2 jugs of wine were the same wine that Chu Yang had drunk on the night when he had made an agreement with the Xie clan. Chu Yang had single-handedly challenged the drinking capacity of the entire Xie clan on that day. So, the Xie clan's people still remembered it vividly. The old ancestor had set an example. So, the others also drank the wine one by one without any hesitation. Of course, more than half of these 200 people would have vomited on the spot if they had known that Chu Yang had drunk this wine. The sword spirit couldn't change the fact that this wine had entered Chu Yang's mouth first. Then, it had entered Chu Yang's stomach, and then it had entered the tribulation space. In a sense, this wine is Minister Chu's excrement. Minister Chu had no choice. How could he have so much water in such a hurry? It would have been too wasteful if he had used the vitality spring. There were 2 jugs of wine in the tribulation space. So, how could he not use them? Moreover, the wine's efficacy would have dispersed a bit faster. Since that's the case, this old man will exercise his hands and feet tonight. Leave that old poison of the Ou clan to this old man. Xie Qiu wasn't afraid of the Ou clan's poison after drinking the wine. So, he was full of heroic spirit. The old ancestor of the Ou clan had always been in the Ou clan's secret chamber. He and Xie Qiu were old enemies. The 2 old men were well aware that the other wasn't dead. So, it was time to decide who would live or die. Xie Qiu had just broken through to the martial monarch realm. So, he wasn't afraid of the old poison. So, he naturally didn't put that old poison in his eyes. Everyone, today's plan is like this. Chu Yang drew on the ground with his long sword. Tonight, we will destroy the Ou clan. Chu Yang finished the arrangements. Then, he shouted, my heavenly armament pavilion will rise in 3 days from tonight. Roar. Only Dong Wushong and the others responded. The others looked at King of Hell Chu with a strange look in their eyes. We are the ones fighting. How can your heavenly armament pavilion rise? Minister Chu didn't care about this. You are the ones fighting. But, you are using the name of our heavenly armament pavilion. Who will know that you are the ones fighting after this battle? We have offended so many people in the northern wilderness. So, it's inevitable that some people will come to settle accounts with us. But, who will dare to come and look for trouble if those guys know that we have the ability to destroy the Ou clan in one night? Moreover, the heavenly armament pavilion will become famous. So, who would be afraid that no one will come to join us? Tonight's operation must be fast. Moreover, we aren't afraid of the Ou clan's poison. But, we must make use of their poison. Don't confront them head-on if you can mount a sneak attack. And, don't call yourselves heroes if you can catch them off guard. Chu Yang's eyes flashed like lightning. He then said with a righteous face, first, pretend to be dead when you encounter poison. Then, wait for the enemy to arrive at your side. Then, kill them violently. We must caress the necks of these poisonous creatures of the Ou clan like a gentle breeze. We must caress their necks like lovers. We must let them die in surprise and trembling. Minister Chu said with an awe-inspiring righteousness, I call this Operation Love Ou. Do you remember it? Everyone broke out in cold sweat. This guy in front of them was extremely treacherous. Of course, the most awesome thing was that he could deploy such a vicious, sinister, despicable, and wretched battle plan with an awe-inspiring righteousness on his face. He was a genius that had never been seen before. He is. Operation Love OU? Who can withstand such a fatal caress? Get ready now. Everyone will set out after a quarter of an hour. We will rush into the OU clan at the third watch of the night. Burn, kill, and plunder. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots. Don't leave a chicken or a dog alive. There won't be a OU clan for 3 days after tonight. A murderous intention flashed in Chu Yang's eyes. That night, it was late at night. The sky was dotted with stars. The earth was dark. The OU clan's ancient castle was continuous on this hillside. A feng shui master would have recognized the OU clan's headquarters if he had come here to take a look. It was the location of a dragon's vein in this mountain. It was a dark night. More than 200 experts had gathered in a small forest more than 5 kilometers away. They were glaring like tigers watching their prey. Everyone was crouching in the underbrush. Their eyes were flickering with a bright light. Let's go. Chu Yang waved his hand. He took the lead and rushed out. Jiu Du Xing, Ji Mo, Rui Bu Tong, and Tan Tan followed closely behind. They went out like a cool breeze. Dong Wu Shong and Luo Ku Di weren't suitable for this operation. Dong Wu Shong was too tall and sturdy. And Luo Ku Di was somewhat lacking in this aspect. So, Chu Yang and the other 4 people could only start the operation. The people behind them watched the 5 people rush out. They nervously opened their eyes wide. But then, they rubbed their eyes with their hands. What did I just see? How did these people disappear after they went out? There was only a piece of flat grassland in front of them. The highest part of the grassland was only up to their calves. But these 5 people were madly rushing and flying on this grassland. And they were moving without making any sound. Chu Yang and the others had already rushed out 7 or 8 kilometers with a whoosh sound. Their movements were like the caress of a lover. They were gentle and graceful. They were full of tenderness and affection. But they were also full of deadly murderous intention. The gate of the OU clan's castle was right in front of them. The 4th watch has been delivered. Chapter 593. Everyone in the grove looked at the faintly discernible silhouettes flickering under the starlight. Their hearts were in their mouths. The OU clan had been an aristocratic clan for hundreds of years. So, how strong was its castle? Chu Yang and the others were very skilled in concealment techniques. However, they couldn't enter the city directly. So, what kind of method would they use to trick the OU clan into opening the gate? Everyone still had doubts in their hearts. King of Hell Chu had said that he had a way. But what method would he use to make the OU clan open the gate in such a tense situation? Therefore, no one had dared to think of a strong attack. Even a monarch-level expert wouldn't necessarily be able to blast open the gate of the OU clan. Everyone was looking at King of Hell Chu at this moment. The OU clan would be destroyed tonight as long as King of Hell Chu could open the gate. However, everyone would have no choice but to withdraw if the gate couldn't be opened. It was so quiet that it seemed as if the late-night wind had condensed into a silent oppression. Suddenly, a sword light appeared in the dark night, and illuminated the night sky. A bleak and vicissitudes of life aura seemed to have come from ancient times. And it swept through the world in a flash. The entire world suddenly changed from the early autumn season to a biting cold wind. A cold light appeared. It was extended. A lightning-like sword light split the entire world in a split second. Even the void of the late night trembled fiercely at this moment. The sword light was like a dragon as it crossed the sky. It was hundreds of feet long, and was as thick as a drum. It majestically rushed towards the gate of the OU clan. It seemed as if it could topple mountains and overturn seas. Everyone was petrified. King of Hell Chu had said that he had a way. But it turned out to be a barbaric and hooligan's method. He had used his sword to blast open the gate of the OU clan with absolute violence. This bastard even said that he would use the fiery light as a signal. Everyone had thought that he had a way to sneak in. But they hadn't expected that he would use the fiery light as a signal. Motherfucker, why would he need the fiery light as a signal? Even a blind person would be able to see your sword light within 200 miles. Crazy. More than 200 experts sighed at the same time. Then, an idea arose in everyone's mind: get ready to retreat. This king of hell Chu has no plan. I thought that he would have a way, but it seems that he was just bragging. Today's training. Motherfucker, how could the OU clan have survived until now if you could split open the gate of the OU clan with your sword? Hadn't they been destroyed 700 to 800 times already? How childish. Did he think that he was a saint-level expert? However, in the next moment, everyone who was sighing suddenly widened their eyes and rubbed their eyes with their fingers. Their faces were filled with disbelief and horror as if they had seen a ghost. I must be dreaming, right? That ball of sword light boldly rushed over. The sword light had barely risen when someone on the OU clan's gate tower noticed it. Enemy attack! A shrill scream was heard, and the copper bell that sounded the alarm kept ringing. Then, clusters of gold and silver light appeared, and streams of five-colored black smoke poured down one after another. Countless concealed weapons and poisons instantly filled the area within a radius of 500 feet in front of the OU clan's main gate. However, all these lights and colors were overshadowed by Chu Yang's sword light. Ding 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 sounds rang out continuously. Gold and silver light scattered in all directions. The poisonous smoke that had just started to spread out suddenly disappeared. Suddenly, a few miserable screams rang out from the city gate. The sword light had struck back the concealed weapons, and had gone to look for their masters. However, that sword light carried the power of a thunderbolt, and resolutely crashed into the gate like a meteor. This door was a full 10 feet thick and made of steel. It was as heavy as 10,000 kilograms. But it seemed as if a giant's belly had been pierced in front of this sword light, and a big hole appeared in front of it. There were neat traces of tearing steel plates around the hole. Chu Yang had rushed into the OU clan's castle with his sword. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. What kind of monster is this? Even Xieji Qiu, who had the highest cultivation among everyone present, had opened his eyes wide, and his mouth wide open, as if he had seen a ghost. He was so shocked that he was almost speechless. Xieji Qiu had obtained the mysterious jade ice crystal, and had finally broken through the barrier of monarch-level expert. However, he asked himself, I wouldn't have been able to penetrate this gate of the OU clan if I had a divine weapon in my hand. And I would have used my lifelong cultivation to drive it. But this king of hell Chu has not only penetrated it, but has also created such a big hole. Moreover, he has also rushed in. Then, a few screams came out from inside. Then, a sword light lit up outside, and followed closely behind King of Hell Chu. Then, the man and the sword rushed in together. The entire space was suddenly filled with a biting cold sword intention when this sword came out. It seemed as if a cold wind was whistling through the earth. Then, a neat clang sound resounded in the entire world. Even the experts who had been lying in ambush in the grove were no exception. The swords on the waists of all the people who used swords vibrated at the same time, and saluted the emperor. This was the worldly principle of the way of the sword. Sword Emperor. This Jiyu clan's young clan lord Jiyu Duxing is an extremely pure sword emperor. He doesn't have the slightest bit of impurity. Xieji Qiu grabbed his head, and exclaimed in surprise. However, this sword cry had reminded everyone, and they rushed out one after another. Dongwu Shong had already taken the lead and rushed to the front. Ji Mo, Tan Tan, Rui Biu Tong, and the others had already entered the castle after Jiyu Duxing. Countless experts of the OU clan were crazily rushing out from inside the castle. Everyone knew that the OU clan would be finished if they couldn't guard the main gate and drive the enemy out. Chu Yang's body was taken over by the sword spirit at that moment. Then, he suddenly burst forth, and launched the move What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world with all his strength. The 10,000-year evil spirit had erupted. Moreover, the Calamity sword had an invincible sharpness, and the peerless might of the sword move had broken through the 10,000-pound main gate of the OU clan with irresistible force. Then, he rushed into the OU clan with his sword, and smashed the inner gate of the OU clan. Then, he slaughtered all the experts of the OU clan who had been guarding the main gate. Blood flowed like a river. Then, Chu Yang stuffed an incomplete version of the heavy pill into his mouth. The sword spirit waited until Chu Yang's martial power had recovered by half. Then, he quietly withdrew, and let Chu Yang take control of the situation. The experts of the OU clan rushed forward like a tide. Chu Yang shouted loudly, and a cold light shone in 10,000 fathoms. He made a move, and the world was suddenly filled with cold lights. In fact, the entire sky was filled with cold lights. A ding-ding-dang-dang sound was heard, and blood was bursting out from time to time. The sword light flashed beside him, and a sharp sword energy swept past him. It then rushed into the crowd without stopping. The swords of dozens of enemies issued a clanging sound at the same time. Sword Emperor. Jiu Du Xing has arrived. Jiu Du Xing let out a long and loud shout, and the black dragon sword issued a sword cry at the same time. Then, it started to tremble and churn in the air. Jimo and the other two rushed in after that. The might of the five brothers' joint attack was like that of a mad tiger. In fact, they managed to push the experts of the OU clan back outside the gate tower. However, the space was vast, and the pressure had multiplied once they had gone out. Countless experts of the OU clan had rushed over from all directions. Chu Yang and the others had rushed in, but the situation still wasn't optimistic. This place was still narrow. Those old monsters would have been able to take advantage of the terrain to firmly block everyone if the OU clan had firmly guarded this place. In fact, even 200 king-level experts wouldn't have been able to display their full strength due to the narrow terrain. And, they would have been annihilated by the enemy. Therefore, Chu Yang must immediately change the present situation. Rushing in wasn't a victory. The real battle would take place in a short period of time after they had rushed in. Chu Yang and the others must guard the passage. They must open the passage, and allow the experts of the OU clan to calmly enter the castle. Only then would their initial plan be considered a success. Chu Yang let out a long and loud shout. Jimo and Jiu Du Xing immediately stood in a row. Then, they suddenly took 3 steps forward, and crazily attacked the enemies. They were protecting Chu Yang behind them. Jimo and Rui Bu Tong's bodies were splashed with blood during these 3 steps. They had been injured. Chu Yang took advantage of this small gap, and roared loudly. Shua! 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 He threw out dozens of big oil barrels one after another from the tribulation space. Each barrel weighed hundreds of kilograms. They fell down with a loud rumble, and the kerosene splashed in all directions. Then, he flicked his hand, and threw them out like meteors. Boom! The flames came in contact with the kerosene, and started to burn fiercely. Bang! The raging flames soared to the sky, and the oil barrels exploded in the crowd of the OU clan. Ah! Oil barrels! That bastard! Where did he get so much kerosene? Old Third Shin is burning. Quickly retreat! Quickly retreat! I don't believe that they can rush in from such a big fire. Blood-curdling screams resounded unceasingly. Then, boom boom boom, several oil barrels exploded at the same time. Flames soared to the sky in front of the city gate's main gate. This stopped the OU clan's experts from rushing towards the gate. The raging flames soared to the sky. Blood-curdling screams resounded unceasingly. A grey-clothed man's silhouette rushed over from the direction of the OU clan's inner palace. He was flying at such a high speed that he issued sonic booms in the air. He then shouted loudly, "What happened?" Several silhouettes soared from the direction of the inner palace, and rushed over here. Chu Yang took large strides to welcome them. The 7 shades cold energy floated around his body, and wrapped Jiu Du Xing and the others inside. He let out a long and loud shout, and the raging flames suddenly separated on both sides. Then, the 5 brothers strode out of the flames, and suddenly rushed in. It seemed as if 5 fiendish demons had suddenly rushed out of the raging flames. Their entire bodies were emitting a sinister and vicious aura. Chu Yang burst into laughter, and said, Nothing happened. It's just that the King of Hell has come to invite us to dinner. Everyone, please go to the Netherworld's 18 layers of hell for a meal, sightseeing, and a permanent residence there. The entire OU clan is here. Get ready to attend the banquet. Ha ha ha. That grey-clothed old man coldly snorted. He floated down from the sky, and shouted, "Ignorant junior. This old man, OU Fanga, will take your little life." The wind from his palm whistled, and chopped towards Chu Yang's face. A cold light flickered, and covered the top of his head. Black energy filled the air. He had launched the OU clan's unique poison technique at the same time. It seemed as if a mass of dense fog had fallen down by the time he had landed on the ground. The dense fog was mixed with a cold light. Chu Yang sneered and said, "A trifling first-grade Emperor-level expert dares to boast shamelessly in front of me. Die of old age." Tribulation sword flashed high up in the sky. He didn't dodge or evade. His sharp determination was buried deep, but it didn't change. He rushed forward to meet force with force. The sword light dazzled like a midnight flower, and suddenly exploded in the sky. To be continued. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.